Me.
All right, we have 6 o'clock. I call this Horicon Common Council meeting of February 23rd, 2023 to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Horace Fromme,
Here.
Dick Marshke,
Here.
Jim Bansma,
Here.
Marie Fenske, here, Don Miller,
Here.
Bryce Remy,
Here.
Will please rise and join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item 4. We have a motion to act on the council minutes of January 24th and February 7th of 2023. Second, I make the motion.
Second.
Discussion? All right. Not in favor, aye. Opposed, nay. Clerk, please call the roll.
Jim Bansma,
Aye.
Marie Fenske, Don Miller,
Aye.
Bryce Remy,
Aye.
Horace Fromme,
Aye.
Dick Marshke,
Aye.
Agenda item 5, public appearances, limited to 3-minute time frame per individual. Want to go, Richie? Yep.
My name is Rich Cachet. I live at 135 Oakwood Drive. I've been a lifelong resident of Horicon, and I'm here this evening with a major safety concern regarding the railroad and them blocking Highway 33. The county clerk was held up by the train for 42 minutes, and she told me that something has to be done about it. My son, who is a fireman, was held up for 37 minutes before breaking out of the line and went to the police station and got the chief, and the chief finally broke the train and got it moving. The traffic backed up past Surefire to the west and past the stop and go lights. It's just a matter of time before an emergency happens, and our emergency personnel are unable to respond in a timely manner. Anyone that is emergency management knows that the first few minutes in any emergency are critical, and I want to know what it's going to take before something is done about it. Is it going to take a house burning down, or heaven forbid, someone dying because our EMTs or firemen can't get to the station? When that day comes and a railroad and a city are sued, we won't have a leg to stand on because we know about it and didn't do anything about it. The state statute reads 192-292, trains obstructing highways. It shall be unlawful to stop any locomotive or car upon a cross a highway street crossing outside the city limits, or leave the same standing upon such crossing longer than 10 minutes, except in cases of accident. And any railroad company that shall violate this section shall be liable to fine not more than $500. Or any officer of such company responsible for violations shall be liable for imprisonment not more than 15 days. I realize that the federal statute supersedes the state statute unless, and that is critical, is unless we have an ordinance on the books that is similar to that of the states. So I'm here this evening asking you to create an ordinance that is similar to the one that the state has, so that this does not happen in our community. I believe even if the train is broke with those many cars, our EMTs and firemen will not be able to get to the station. So I'm asking for you on the council to put on the agenda an ordinance pertaining to the railroad and crossing on Highway 33. Thank you.
Do we have any other public appearances? Good. Going twice. Any other public appearances? Sorry. Agenda item 6, we're going to be skipping over, which is the presentation on the upcoming school referendum. All right. Item 7, discussion on the future of the Disher Park Dance Hall. Bryce, you want to take this?
Yeah, so at the Parks Board meeting this past month, we had some Originally, this all started as an idea of repairing the dance hall, making sure like if people are renting it, it would look a heck of a lot nicer than it currently is. That people would actually want to rent it and not just drive by it, is pretty much what it was. So that got us looking, and there were some structural concerns that were brought up, but we also got quotes of repairing it. So that was actually usable. So Cody was really awesome with this and got us quotes, and everything's itemized. So if you have this sheet, there's also some pictures in there. You'll see it later on, but there was a motion at Parks to close down the building for the rest of the year because we don't have a budget to repair the entrances, the ramps, and the stairs. Those came in at $40,000. This building is rented already for an event in June, and then the autumn or on the March and September. That just doesn't seem safe enough to let 300 plus people into a building that could give up.
In the pictures that are on your desk, you can see the first picture on the front. That is when the structural guy or the structural engineer came in to do the analysis. Well, one of the things he pointed out was you can see how they're tipping, that the piers may not be straight. With that, he said that these piers also they more than likely, due to the age of the building, don't have a 3 foot by 3 foot or 4 foot by 4 foot pad on the bottom of which would be necessary to take the load of the building in that soil conditions. But we won't know that till spring. We'll have to dig down and see what they actually have. The second picture is the corner. That one shows, you can kind of see where I'm not sure if it's actually attached at the bottom anymore, or the weight's just kind of holding it together. On the second page, you can see two of the other supports that have a gap. The one may or may not actually have load on it from the building. It might just be kind of sitting there because it's sunk down so far. And the other one, you can see there's actually a fairly sizable gap on that one as well. Those are two separate ones. On the third page, the top picture, that's some work that have been done in the past to try to save the building from more damage because it was starting to sag down. That next picture I just put in there, it's kind of the ramp and the stairs that we've closed off because I guess they're rotten out. And you can see the siding is starting to rot away as well. And then the last picture, this one is up closer to the road. You can kind of see that pillar or pier as well is starting to degrade and disintegrate. These were just a couple of easy pictures I had to take. There are more that are in this kind of condition. That's just ones that were easy to take today in the snow. So these pictures were from today. One of the things the structural guy brought up is he was concerned about the span between the piers. He measured it 10 by 12 feet between piers. He was concerned that those piers would be able to take the weight of 100 pounds per square foot, which is code for that kind of building. The building, with his structural analysis, he came in and looked at it. He was saying like the other building was able to be lifted up and moved. He said this type of construction, because it's that big open span frame, would be his initially told me you couldn't move it. I'm like, I asked him, oh, really? Is that, I didn't know that. He's like, well, it wouldn't be like a feasible. He's like, you could do anything. It's just how much money would it take to move it? There are a few rotten, like smaller spots in the floor that are weak and kind of spongy, but that's not super concerning. I guess the other thing was, and I thought we had discussed at one point that it was only rented 4 to 5 times a year for the past few years.
Do you mind going into this a little bit?
We absolutely can. I had this prepared. I asked Council Engineering to come in, and they brought in a separate firm to give us a cost estimate on what it would take. The Parks Committee had asked for making it a more usable building. They wanted bathrooms, insulated, HVAC, siding, windows, doors, and a roof, because the roof is what initially brought this up, was the roof is starting to fail. And that all came in through an itemized quote at $1,277,500, and that does not include foundation repair, anything structural repair underneath it. That is an estimate, not a quote. It's not like a given, like we can pay somebody to do this. That is what their assessment on it was. And then after we had discussed that at the Parks Board,
They came back and asked what it would cost to replace that building with a modernized building, and they came back at $471 a square foot at $3.25 million for cost estimate on that. Just to run through it kind of quickly, not waste a bunch of time.
Did they give you a renovation life expectancy?
They did not. I can ask for that if that's something this maybe would like.
Yeah, I think that would be something that would be worth knowing. Renovation
Take care of
versus
that.
replacement.
Is there any other discussion on this?
Yeah, I got some items actually I was gonna bring up on this. Not even just like this building, but there's other buildings that are in pretty rough shape through our city. So we're gonna start hopefully taking better care of what we have. Regardless of whatever happens with the dance hall, there's a structure at Bowling Green that may be coming down in the near future. There's one at Kiwanis Park that needs some attention that we're hopefully gonna be replacing. When parks are well done and well maintained, it does have a positive correlation on your taxes. You know, if your house is worth more, I would hate to live next to a crappy park. But you know, if it looked really awesome, I'd pay more to live there. I will say I'm also disappointed with our current council and the past council that this is something that didn't happen overnight. Believe it or not, we didn't just snap our fingers and it looked like that. It's like decades of neglect of the building. So I'm hoping we actually start investing more and taking this seriously. I went to the chamber meeting and brought this up because they are the ones that have the two events. Common theme was that they're just very disappointed we let the building get this far. It will have a big impact on their autumn art on the marsh. So much that they're even looking at moving it to a neighboring community. So that's another big event we may lose. When the park plan is finally approved, something the group, our parks group recommended for approval in December 2022, we as a council really need to prioritize getting grants for this. We went to our residents to give their children opportunities to play. There's some playgrounds that are in really rough shape as well. So it's not just buildings that are in this state, but we really need to start going on that. As something that I would like to explore too is maybe setting up like an account program. So, you know, say someone rents a building, we set like 20% or 50% into a fund just for maintaining that building. So we don't get to this 30 years down the road with another one. That's all my comments.
Well, just one comment I'd like to make was somebody approached me about discussing this building, and they were pretty negative on doing anything to remove it or tear it down. Okay, and then we got talking, and the people said, "Well, when we were at JC's, we used that building a lot." And I said, "Well, how many years ago was that?" And we determined through figuring a building is probably, you know, they used that building probably 30 years ago or longer. And once we further into the discussion, the person said, "Well, nothing's been done with that building. The building needed repair then, and it needs it now." And I mean, they turned completely around from where they wanted to go with it. And actually, when they realized how long this thing has been allowed to deteriorate, and I mean, it's you know, like anything else, needs constant maintenance, not looking at it once every 35, 40 years.
Yeah, and the reason too, like you see like the HVAC, the heating, like the bathrooms, you know, the thought was on the parks, if we make this a nice building, maybe they'll rent it more. You know, maybe people have a wedding in there in the middle of winter. Then you don't have to wheel grandma who's had a few too many rum and cokes outside of the park pavilion. You could just use the bathroom there. So that was kind of the thought of why we'd make it really nice and maybe we'd get more rentals.
Yeah, because right now, at our current rate of rentals and how much money we bring in, it would take us almost 5,000 years to make that money back.
Yeah.
And 5,000 years of rural rock is very little bit of geological time, but 5,000 years is a lot of years.
Yeah.
If you're only bringing in $400 a year. I mean, I look in here, I mean, there's a few of us that, you know, 4 or 5 of us in the room, Eric and I for sure, went there for rec when we were kids, and that building was considerably worse than when we were there in the mid-'80s. There's no question about that. But even back in the mid-'80s, it wasn't the world's best building. I don't know, it's just the price tag was shocking, and that's my feeling on it. And, you know, just from the vibe I got around Horicon, we had quite a large fundraising effort for the school recently for the athletic complex and this and that. And you've seen how much they raised and how they had every single event known to man to try to generate money for that. This would cost almost the same. I'd have a hard time believing that our citizens would want to re-engage in such a large fundraising effort again. But that was
Everyone
just my
shouldn't.
opinion.
My thoughts were like, if we would have invested, you know, the 5,000-10,000 this was as it came up, it probably wouldn't have gotten to this point, but
Right.
I can't say from my past experience, but I'm sure it got shut down or chopped off the budget pretty quick. So I just hope we start taking that seriously.
You shouldn't have to fundraise. They shouldn't, the city should own the responsibility of taking care of their own things. So even if this building goes because it's just not feasible to save it, then we should come up with a plan for future stuff. So that's not the situation in X amount of years.
That's for sure.
I will add too, like, obviously we're not gonna motion like rip it down tonight, but if it is ripped down, you know, I think it's important to have a replacement idea, like, you know, maybe like a splash pad is what we were looking at, or potentially mini go.
The playground's in rough shape over there too.
Kunkel Engineering did bring up to me that there may be some kind of money available. They did a library project, so they are just kind of easily looking into that just to see if we would qualify you. But I haven't got to work back on that yet.
Is there any further discussion?
Can I ask a question? Did I hear you say that repairs would cost approximately $40,000? Or is that something?
That's just for,
That's
that's
just
just for
for-
the ramp, ADA ramp.
The ramp and the stairs,
Just
just to get into the building.
Was that let out on bids, or is that just an estimate somebody gave you?
Estimate from the engineering firm.
I know that maybe some people might be interested in it. Okay,
Even if you,
thank you.
this wasn't something we put in the budget for this year, so I don't know if we'd even have money yet this year to fix it. That was kind of all their thought of closing it for the year.
Do they have any like minimal structural things that need to be done before resuming occupancy with it?
To be honest, I brought up the question, like, would you put your grandma in that building? And the group consensus was no. You know, I wouldn't put any of you in that building looking at it from the outside. I mean, I don't know all of you that well, but I wouldn't want you to get hurt. And I don't want to see the city get sued because we know it's bad and then we let a group use it.
We won't know the extent until we get the structural analysis back, which they were forecasting for April.
Be really unfortunate to lose the art on the marsh. That's been in town for like as long as I know.
Well, thing with this, so where do you start and where do you stop? You know, doesn't pay to put a roof on a building that's got a poor foundation, you know.
Or vice versa.
We're correct.
I think that's what kind of brought this up, is we were asked for a price for the roof, and Rich put together a price, and just to replace the roof was $131,000 just for the membrane to go on the roof. So we thought it'd be worth looking at the rest of the building as a whole instead of just that one portion of it, because why spend that kind of money if the rest of the building needs X amount of work? It shows 200,000 in there because that includes insulating it for the HVAC.
Oh, how many square feet was that? 6,000, right? The main dance hall was 6,000 square feet. How big is the public safety building? It's bigger than that,
I don't
right?
know, I just maintain, I don't know how big it is.
Well, I'm just thinking, because how much that roof cost us, $600-some thousand?
That's a very. That was just the
Yeah.
fire
Yeah.
department side,
And we also need to remember the roofs that are on this building and the public safety building are very quality roofs that you would probably not necessarily put on a front building.
Yeah, that's just a membrane roof. You have a tar, I believe, on this building, and Amy has a steel.
Police department has tar.
Oh, yeah, that's
Fire
right.
department
Yes,
has
has steel,
steel.
yeah.
Any further discussion?
One request from the chamber too, depending on if they close it or not, they were kind of hoping if they could still keep the event there this year, if they could use the bar area, which is kind of separate from the dance hall, but I was gonna leave that all for you to think about and decide.
Until we get the structural analysis, I don't know that we can make that decision.
Yeah.
I'd like to say yes, you know, and figure out what we need to do so people can get in there, and if we can contingency fund or whatever we have in the budget to move stuff around. If it's possible, then great, and if not, we have to err on the side of safety.
We'll get there on number 19 on the agenda. All right, any other? If not, let's move on to item 8, which is the Personnel and Finance Committee report. Forrest.
Yep. Personal Finance Committee met regular session February 16th at 6 p.m. All members present, no public appearances. We had a motion to approve our January minutes passed. We had a discussion on part-time employees vacation benefit. We had a motion to approve hiring EMS personnel, Sarah Heine. Motion passed. Motion to approve the 2023 Aquatic Center contract. That motion passed. Motion to approve the MSA contract for wastewater facilities plan passed. Motion to approve the January bills passed, and we set our next meeting for Thursday, March 16th at 6 p.m. here in the council chambers, and adjourned at 6:19 p.m.
Thanks, Forrest. Public Works and Development Committee, Jim.
Public Works and Development Committee was called to order at 6 p.m. by Chairman Jim Bansma. Members present, Bansma, Fensky, and Miller. Members absent, none. No minutes were approved as there is no meeting previous month. Public appearances, none. Discussion on speed deterrence. Fensky reported on her door-to-door visits with residents on Washington Chandler Streets and Birchcrest Road. A comment was the need for more police patrol in the affected areas. Discussion on mill and overlay projects for 2023. Streets that have been recommended for mill and overlay are Kilbourne, Huron, Clark, Gray, and Jersey streets. Motion by Miller, second by Fensky to approve mill and overlay for Mill, Huron, Clark, Gray, and Jersey streets. All in favor, all voting aye, motion carried. Water wastewater treatment plant, facility plan. Jody Young from MSA spoke about the initial planning for the replacement / updating the wastewater treatment plant. GIS mapping, Jody Young from MSA reviewed the benefits of updating and adding information to our existing mapping. Discussion on DPW summer hours, discussion on snow removal, DPW update, crews are busy with snow and ice removal, tree trimming, and tree removal is ongoing. Water wastewater update, NOAA strike has been promoted to operator in charge, which creates an opening in the water department, and applications are currently being accepted. Set the next meeting for Thursday, March 2nd, 2023 at 6 p.m. at the DPW conference room. Motion by Miller, second by Fensky to adjourn. All voting aye. Meeting adjourned at 8:10 p.m.
Thanks, Jim. Public Safety, Dick.
Public Safety Committee met February 14th at 6 o'clock. All members were present. Motion by Remy to approve the January's minutes. Motion carried. Oh, motion by Marski, second by Remy. There was no public appearances, no monthly reports. East Lake Street Task Force, there was no meeting. Under the food ordinance, it'll be next month's meeting. Speed deterrence, discussed about doing traffic studies in the whole city. Under the three-way stop sign at Horicon and Clinton Street, discussed to leave it there. because the school bus stops at the next corner. Motion by Remy, second by Marshke, to approve Sean Sutton for 2-year operator's license. Motion carried. Set next meeting date for Tuesday, March 14th at 6 PM at the Public Safety Building. Motion to adjourn by Remy, second by Fensky. All voted aye. Meeting adjourned at 7:10.
Hey, Dick, for the monthly reports, you got none. Do you guys review the reports that the chief is sending us in the emails now, by chance? Because those would be related to safety.
Well, it wasn't ready for the meeting.
I told him to remove the reports.
Okay. Okay. That's all.
Item 11, Park and Rec Board Report, Bryce.
The Park and Rec Board meeting was called to order at 6 PM by Chairperson Remy. All members are present. There was a motion by Remy, second by Boyd, to approve last month's minutes. The motion carried. There was no public appearances. For the Parks report, they're still cutting down ash trees, and the bike signs are ordered and will be here by April 15th for that bike program. The Aquatic Center report is that the Dodge County YMCA contract needs to be signed by March 1st and will be going to council on today's date. There was no recreation report. There was a presentation on playgrounds and services from Commercial Recreation Specialists, or CRS. So Brian Strachey gave that presentation. There was a motion by Remy and seconded by Mookie to approve the Historical Society's use of Riverbend Park for 2023's Living History Days, May 12th through the 14th, allowing a $5 admission fee to offset any fees associated with the event that they may get. And there's also that voters would still be able to have access to the park. That motion carried. There was another motion seconded by Crewell to approve carrying and discharging of weapons for 2023 Living History Days. All voting aye, motion carries. There was another motion by Remy, seconded by Marshke, to approve the use of horses in Riverbend Park for the 2023 Living History Days. That's dependent on the weather. So all voted aye and motion carried. There was discussion on the Horicon Aquatic Center transferable pool pass policy. Changes still needed, so I'll work on that. Modifications to the monument at Bowling Green Park, just waiting on some prices relating to the pergola. Updates to the Horicon bike program, the signs are ordered, and then checking into a tracking device, and we'll have a quote for next month's meeting. No updates on the District Park Dance Hall, waiting on a structural report, expected to have by April. The feedback from the engineer was negative. A quote from the District Park Dance Hall was used as a year-round facilities, came in, that was in your packet. District Park Dance Hall is rented for 2 events this year, and there was already safety concerns with the foundation. There was recommendations of using the 1909 Jersey Street building instead of the dance hall. Would like to establish a park asset management system to track and prevent future buildings from reaching this level of decay. There was a motion by Remy, seconded by Boyd, to close the District Park Dance Hall through 2023, pending a structural evaluation. All voted aye, motion carried. Food and event ideas for Horicon Aquatic Center, idea of allowing the service groups to sell concessions at the pool, and then looking into establishing theme nights and promoting for Saturdays, like such as Hawaiian or Aloha themes. And then just sledding at North Promontory Hill, I met with Eric Kilberg, the DNR property manager for the Horicon Marsh, and sledding is a allowed activity up there, but the DNR will not be modifying the land in any way, nor allowing us or a third party to do so. There was a general consensus that the DNR, the city and citizens, have a very special relationship here in Horicon. It's not really elsewhere in the state. We will continue to develop that. We set the next meeting date for Wednesday, March 8th, 2023 at 6 PM at City Hall. Motion to adjourn by Remy, seconded by Marshke. All voted aye. Meeting adjourned at 8:12 PM.
Thank you. Plan Commission, Don?
Plan Commission met in regular session in January 9th. Mayor Moss presiding. Meeting was called to order at 5:40 PM. Members present, Mayor Moss, myself, Lisa Sullivan, Warner Biederman, Dave Gullenbeck, Tom Amundson, and Cody Vanderhei. Members absent, Dave Magnuson, Chester Ward, Dave Westemeyer. Also in attendance was a representative from John Deere, Horicon Works, and Kunkel Engineering. Motion and a second to approve the minutes of November 4th. Motion passed. No public appearances. Motion and a second to approve the plan for the proposed improvement for the Horicon Works Shoreline Stabilization Project. Motion passed. Motion and a second to recommend to council the name of Raisy Circle for the cul-de-sac that comes off of Caston Drive in Phase 2 of City View. Motion passed. There was also a motion and a second to recommend the name of Rookie Road for the proposed street in the Marshland Crossing. This motion also passed. Motion and a second to adjourn. Motion passed, and we adjourned at 6:26 PM.
All right, for my report, I want to first wish good luck to our wrestlers down in Madison this weekend and our basketball teams and their respective tourneys. I want to say City View is really progressing nicely. So there's a foundation in for a big house, one going in soon for.
The structure's almost up
Yeah, that's crazy.
today.
Yeah, which is fantastic. There's one going in along the berm, and I believe they put in the foundation for a duplex. So everything is, I can't believe they got that much done this winter. But we only have a house or two for sale in the entire city. That's a good sign that we're gonna get some new ones, which is fantastic. I wanted to give thanks again to Cody and your crew. We had a lot of really good compliments again today. Thank you for staying out late, getting up early, making sure we have the best roads in county. You're doing a fantastic job.
Thank you all,
So,
you guys know.
appreciate that.
Then we get some of my yard club today.
And, we're gonna have a pretty busy spring. There's a lot of things in the works here in Horicon compared to prior springs. So I'm excited to see how these enhancements for our citizens, it's gonna be great. So once the weather turns here in the next 3 or 4 weeks, I expect all of us to be busy, and we're gonna have a lot of things to do, which is fantastic. It's what we should be doing. And that's all I got. So if we can move on to item 14, we're gonna act on resolution 2023-02. It's a resolution supporting the Wisconsin DOT consideration of the City of Horicon's Transportation Alternatives Program grant application.
Do you want me to talk about it?
Please. We got Ben Rohr here.
Sure thing. So there is a program that's an annual cycle through the DNR called the Safe Routes, or Transportation Alternatives Program, TAP. And this is really meant for multi-use trail, pedestrian-oriented bicycle connections. And this year, they launched a new program that was funded through the federal infrastructure bill, specifically for rural schools or rural communities of under 5,000 is how that's defined. And so what this means is the pool that's normally going after a TAP grant is the entire state. And this pool is significantly smaller because it's only communities under 5,000. And so what we saw the opportunity for with this grant is to potentially get a pedestrian crossing over the Rock River to alleviate the issue of walking over the existing railroad bridge that children do today. Now, we do not have enough information at this point in time to be able to say we need a pedestrian bridge in this specific location. So this grant would be to figure out a design for how that could happen. And what we've done to this point in our due diligence is talked with the DNR about potentially using the dam to cross the river with some structural upgrades to the dam on top, safety and otherwise, and then connections on either side, which would have to go through DOT-owned land and DNR-owned land and get the railroad all involved. It's a lot, but it's possible. And so that is a positive sign that I don't know if we knew about before or had made that connection prior to. So this grant would enable us to work with all of those different parties to try to figure out a design, hopefully using the existing dam, so we don't have to try to fund a pedestrian bridge standalone by itself. So what this grant is a 20% match requirement. I don't know yet how much it's going to cost to figure out the design itself, but that 80% would be funded by the grant itself, and the deadline is March 20th. We are currently working with the DOT, Conoco, DNR, and city staff to put that application together. So we're looking for support from the council to add into that application.
In the school.
In the school, yes, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, anyone that grew up on the Chandler Valley, anywhere on the west side of town, the ability to walk to school without having to go all the way over Hunk Hill would be fantastic. I am guilty. I have crossed that bridge thousands of times in my life. And it'd be nice to do it in a way that's safe as someone who grew up on Chandler Street.
I used to just sit on my deck and watch them walk across in the morning, and then in the afternoon, going back.
Yeah, and now we're trying to do a way where it's safe and done the right way.
So this is still, passing this still leave us as a council dependent upon accepting a bid for it, correct?
Yeah, and we're just supporting the application at this point. There's been no award. We would find out most likely sometime over the summer if we were awarded the grant. And then we would go into the next steps of allocating funding and all that kind of stuff.
You know if the DNR has any plans as far as replacing that dam at all as well?
Yes, but as you probably all know, the DNR does not move quickly on anything. So what I had conversations with them, and I was doing a little research to find out the history of the dam. It's approximately 100 years old at this point. And so it's past its life. And so they have it on their radar collectively as a upgrade replacement, most likely a replacement in the next decade. So what we're envisioning, if this all comes to fruition, is potentially establishing that crossing in the near future over the existing dam, and with the replacement of the dam, providing a larger facility that's more adequate to facilitate pedestrian traffic over that. And that would give us leverage if it's already established when they're replacing it to be able to say, we need this facility, work with us to make that happen. So approximately a decade is the length of time they have it on their radar.
Are there any other questions on the resolution? If not, is there a motion to act on resolution 2023-02?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All right, if not, all in favor, aye. Opposed, nay. Clerk, please call the roll.
Don Miller,
Aye.
Bryce Remy,
Aye.
Forrest Fromme,
Aye.
Dick Marshke,
Aye.
Jim Bansma,
Aye.
Marie Fenske,
Aye.
Carries. Item 15 is the act on the authorization to bid 2023 street maintenance projects to include milling and overlay of the public safety building and community building parking lots. Jim?
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to authorize getting the bids for the following streets, would be Mill Street from Cedar to Finch, Kilbourne from Washington to Ellison, Huron from Washington to Horicon, Clark from Walnut to Maple, Jersey from Cedar Street to Finch Street, and Gray Street from Finch Street to Rose Street. And that would include the public safety building parking lot and the municipal building parking lots as well.
Thanks, Jim. Is there a second?
Yeah, it also has to include something else,
The cemetery?
Cemetery Road.
Okay, I was informed that was from a separate.
No, it comes out of those funds.
Okay, I'll add the cemetery.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion on the authorization for bid?
Cody, is there a road up the cemetery that we're gonna do?
Yep,
It's in the budget.
650 feet or 625 feet of road.
Okay.
So the different section than what we did.
Yeah.
Was it last year or the year before?
You had a 3-year plan.
This is the third section that we've done up there.
Anything further? All right, if not, all in favor, aye. Opposed, nay. Clerk, please call the roll.
As I understand, this is a motion to authorize the bidding of the 2023 street maintenance projects to include milling and overlay of the public safety building parking lot and municipal building parking lot. Jim Bansma,
Aye.
Marie Fenske,
Aye.
John Miller,
Aye.
Bryce Remy,
Aye.
Forrest Fromme,
Aye.
Dick Marshke.
Aye.
The motion passes. Item 16, acting on a request for use of Riverbend by the Horicon Historical Society for the 2023 Living History Days. Bryce?
I will make a motion to approve the use of Riverbend Park by the Horicon Historical Society for 2023 Living History Days for the dates of May 12th through May 14th.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Yeah, Lonnie, is there gonna be a additional time that they need to set up for this?
We are requesting the park starting Monday, well, requesting it from Monday to Monday.
Okay,
And then, we will start bringing stuff in on Monday and setting up, and then some campers, reenactors will start setting up as early as Tuesday.
I do have a question as well. For all of us that walk our dogs on the trail behind there, that come out behind, can you still walk our dogs? Because we were under the impression that the park is gonna be closed. But there's, as you know, tons of people that walk that trail that extends off Larrabee Street. They're not gonna be all throughout the park. They just basically come to where the park horse trail is and
And then back.
walk back.
Back around. I mean, that's it's certainly something that we could discuss. This was the first time we'd ever really considered charging an admission for the event to help offset our costs. So we were open to discussion on it, to be able to make it work in a way that everybody would be happy with.
So, well, right, there is a, so, I mean, there is a motion on the table, but kind of going to what you're talking about, Cody and I had a discussion earlier this week. You're renting, right now, this request is for authorization of the park. Technically, that is a road that goes through the park, so that,
Until it hits the park.
I think it's still a road in the park.
All the way along that tree line?
I haven't found out for sure yet, but
So we were gonna look into that, because technically, if that's a road, you would need a street use permit, much the same like what you guys get on Winter Street.
Sure.
And then they would have a street use permit, which would, if approved, would allow them to utilize the street, which would be the loop. Just some thoughts. I had a conversation with Bryce, I just wanted to be aware that you guys technically can't tell them whether or not they can charge authorization. But if that's a public road, I don't think they need to apply for it and ask for permission, and you guys would have to grant permission to utilize a public road, which is potentially separate from the park.
Would this be closing the boat landing too?
That was another discussion that Cody and I had, is that it's a public boat landing, and we didn't know exactly what that meant. Public boat landing, like who makes that a public boat landing? Is that like a federal thing? Is that a state thing? Is that a city thing?
And that's the only one.
And like when you
below
say
the
that,
dam.
does that mean I have to always allow access?
When we talked about it at parks, they would still be allowed access, like
Right.
obviously they have the boat behind them on their
Right.
truck or whatever, but
So I think those are just a couple of,
yeah, just some questions or so we gotta clarify a few things, so we know.
but you do have a motion on the table right now.
And this motion is specifically for using Riverbend Park for Living History Days, correct?
Right. As I understand it, it's a motion to approve the Horicon Historical Society's request for use of Riverbend Park, May 12th through 14th, 2023, including overnight accommodations, May 8th through the 15th, 2023, for reenactors and demonstrators, including use of electricity for 2023 Living History Days.
yes,
Right?
correct.
Those dates work. I think we all heard that, right?
Great, if there's no further discussion on it, all in favor, aye, opposed, nay. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bryce Remy,
Aye.
Forrest Fromme,
Aye.
Dick Marshke.
Aye.
Jim Bangsma.
Aye.
Marie Fenske.
Aye.
Don Miller.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 17 is the act on carrying and discharging of weapons in Riverbend as part of 2023 Living History Days.
I will make a motion to approve carrying and discharging of weapons in Riverbend Park as part of 2023 Living History Days, historical demonstration purposes.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, not, all in favor, aye, opposed, nay. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bryce Remy.
Aye.
Forrest Fromme.
Aye.
Dick Marshke.
Aye.
Jim Bangsma.
Aye.
Marie Fenske.
Aye.
Don Miller.
Aye.
Item 18, acting on permission to have horses in Riverbend as part of 2023 Living History Days. Bryce,
I will make a motion to approve horses in Riverbend Park as part of 2023 Living History Days, weather permitting.
Second.
any discussion on the horses?
Yes. Did it happen any other time?
Technically, I don't think you're supposed to have them just in.
That's just.
No.
I think
That's
it's,
And that's in
there's
the
an
ordinance.
ordinance that keeps them out of the parks. If I remember
That
correctly.
is why it's an action item. It's because there's an ordinance that states they're not to be in the parks.
Great. With no further discussion, all in favor, aye, opposed, nay. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bryce Remy.
Aye.
Forrest Fromme.
Aye.
Dick Marshke.
Aye.
Jim Bangsma.
Aye.
Marie Fenske.
Aye.
Don Miller.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, agenda item 19 is acting on a discontinuance of public rentals at Disher Dance Hall pending an engineer structural evaluation.
I'll make a motion to discontinue the public rentals at Dishville Park. Dance hall pending engineer structural evaluation till further notice.
Second.
Any discussion?
Question, would we be refund chamber has a?
Yes, absolutely.
I just want to make sure they're not like a lot of
Absolutely.
money.
Further discussion? If none, all in favor, aye, opposed, nay. Clerk, please call the roll.
This is a motion to discontinue the use and rental of the Disher Park Dance Hall pending an engineer structural evaluation until further notice. Forrest Fromme.
Aye.
Dick Marshke.
Aye.
Jim Bangsma.
Aye.
Marie Fenske.
Aye.
Don Miller.
Aye.
Bryce Remy.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, agenda item 20. We're acting on the hiring of some EMS personnel. Forrest,
Make a motion to approve the hiring of EMS personnel Sarah Heine effective February. No, okay. Just hiring her
Pending.
pending background, employment check, drug screen, whatever.
Second.
discussion? I guess my question is, we can't say the name?
It did.
No, she said the name.
Okay.
Choose the effective date, leaving that open.
Yeah, we don't need to have
Roger,
it.
okay. That was the question, okay.
We don't need that.
Any other further discussion?
Pretty sure Carol has already got that out in line, but. That's
All right. If no further discussion, all in favor, aye, opposed, nay. Clerk, please call the roll.
Motion to authorize the hiring of Sarah Heine as EMS personnel pending a successful drug screen, physical, and background check. Forrest Fromme.
Aye.
Dick Marshke.
Aye.
Jim Bangsma.
Aye.
Marie Fenske.
Aye.
Don Miller.
Aye.
Bryce Remy.
Aye.
Item 21, we're going to be acting on a 2023 Aquatic Center contract with the YMCA of Dodge County. Forrest,
Motion to approve the 2023 Aquatic Center contract with the YMCA of Dodge County in the amount of $92,625.75 as outlined in your packet.
I'll second.
Notice the dates for the service of the pool are in there as well. June 3rd to August 20th, 79 days. There's also an increase for lifeguard wages as well.
So that, are we shutting the pool down a week earlier this year?
Yep.
We're starting at about the same time. So what ended up being the raise for the lifeguards?
It's like 10 something, I think it was.
It was.
That's what we approved in when we had budget.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
And quite honestly, whatever we approve, we always end up not spending because of days being closed, et cetera.
Not fully staffed.
Not fully staffed,
And
closing early.
we pick out a date on when we're gonna open up passes or start selling passes.
I can do it whenever.
That's more of a park board thing as far as when they start doing the passes. Because the Y has done electronic payments for those and through their website in the past, as well as.
Passes
Kristen's
have to be
office.
available and the pool flyer has to be approved.
Yeah, that was last year's problem, where we were trying to track down those flyers.
Yeah, we saw the flyers 2 months ago at Park Board, and then Drew hasn't been back to our meeting since. I don't know where the status of those is either.
Because I'm assuming Cody's gonna have to start getting everything ready too and get plans to get it filled.
Yes.
I did look into getting passes, so that is on my radar.
Yes, Drew had a question for me about pass sales, and I told him that it was dependent upon receipt of physical passes and approved flyers. I think, did he forward a draft flyer? I don't think so.
I didn't see.
And then that was when we communicated about
Yep.
getting on top of him, so
Because I'm assuming he's gonna have to come up with his swim lesson schedule and all that.
that's separate though.
Yeah, but he usually does swim lessons a little bit before the pool opens, doesn't he?
No.
No, okay.
No.
Never mind.
I know we had talked about too, like potentially raising the rates of the pool passes to make it more like in line with the lifeguard wages, but I haven't heard anything since.
That requires council approval.
Yeah.
So, what you can do, what we've done historically is pool flyers. You can just approve the pool flyer as a whole. Or like if you have an individual, you can approve the pool flyer, but like approve the admission rates separately so that it's called out as attention worthy.
Okay.
But that's a park board decision, so you guys can be definitely doing that appropriately. And then recommending to council.
Okay. I will get on top of him.
Yeah, I think it's been probably 5 or 6 years since we've raised rates. But the pool operates at a loss for the city every year, it doesn't matter.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, aye, opposed, nay. Clerk, please call the roll.
Forrest Fromme.
All right,
Dick Marshke.
Aye.
Jim Bansma.
Aye.
Marie Fenske.
Aye.
Don Miller.
Aye.
Bryce Remy.
Aye. Item 22, we're gonna be acting on the contract for the wastewater facilities plan. Forrest,
make a motion to approve the MSA contract for the wastewater facilities plan in the amount of $41,750 as provided in your packet.
Second.
all right. I believe we have Joe here from MSA. Is there anything you want to say about it?
More available for any questions. Obviously, this is the first step that you need in order to be able to do improvements at your facility plan, get the approvals from the DNR and agencies associated with the state. Obviously, it also sets you up for possible funding that we'll be looking at, but this is a long process. It was just the start, and we go from there. So we'll wait and find out what happens with it and what you have to do for improvements. But again, here we are starting.
Question I did forget to ask you. How long does it take to generate this plan?
Again, the plan actually is, there's a lot of busy work that goes along with this, a lot of research and stuff that goes, so you have to look at everything, so not only your cost and what the improvements, what your future permits are gonna be, but there's also about your own existing facilities, your I&I, the issues. So when you get into it, the report isn't the big part of it. It's the time to get some of the stuff pulled together and do the due diligence and DNR involvement that takes it, let's just say, and I forget what the contract says, but it's not surprising to me to see these take up, up to a year of time. And although you're not working on it solid throughout a year, thank goodness, you spend a lot of time evaluating those different options, looking at what you want to do. to put that plan together so we can submit it for approval to the DNR.
This will also look at our growth and see what we predict for the future we would need for how big we would have to make the treatment plant to treat the amount of water with growth in mind.
Yes.
Any other questions for Joe? All good? Any other questions for Cody? All right, not. All in favor, aye, opposed, nay. Clerk, please call the roll.
Forrest Fromme,
Aye.
Dick Marshke,
Aye.
Jim Bansma,
Aye.
Marie Fenske,
Aye.
Don Miller,
Aye.
Bryce Remy,
Motion carries. Item 23, we're to act on a grant agreement between Dodge County and the city for the ARPA City of Horicon Residential Housing Development Infrastructure.
that's the ARPA money that they're giving us.
Yep. So this is the money that we fought for to get from the county to work on city. Is there a motion?
I will make a motion to approve the grant agreement between Dodge County and the City of Horicon.
Second.
Is there any discussion on the agreement?
Yeah, what was the final number on that we're getting
I
from the
believe
county?
350.
Any other questions? All right, if not, all in favor, aye, opposed, nay. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bryce Remy,
Aye.
Forrest Fromme,
Aye.
Dick Marshke,
Aye.
Jim Bansma,
Aye.
Marie Fenske,
Aye.
Don Miller,
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 24, we're to act on a corrective funding action from 1/24/2023 for funding of the fiber internet service at the public safety building.
I believe this is on me. So, do some fancy accounting stuff. Motion to change funding approved, funding approved 11/24/23 for funding fiber internet service at the public safety building, increase account number 100-522-010-298, public safety building internet by $11,400 and decrease account 100-511
990.
990-399 contingency fund by $10,314 and decrease account 100-522-130-298 police data processing by internet fees $1,086.
So what specifically is the corrective funding action?
That's the correct funding. Your motion last month read to include a budget transfer of $10,000.
We're correcting last month.
Yes.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Great, not. All in favor, aye, opposed, nay. Clerk, please call the roll.
Forrest Fromme,
Aye.
Dick Marshke,
Aye.
Jim Bansma,
Aye.
Marie Fenske,
Aye.
Don Miller,
Aye.
Bryce Remy,
Aye. Item 25, would act on corrective funding action from 1/24/2023 for the funding of purchase of 3 sets of solar pedestrian crossing lights. First,
That's
Marie's
me.
taking
oh,
it.
Maria, yes, okay,
I'm
sorry.
gonna say,
Forrest's
Okay.
like, I didn't do it.
I'd make a motion to change the funding approved 1/24/23 for funding of purchase of 3 sets of solar pedestrian crossing lights to increase the account 100-53370-399 traffic control other supply expense by $479 and decrease account 100-511-990-399 contingency fund by $479.
Second.
Any discussion?
To clarify, last month, we just said the motion wrong. So it was just, we just needed $479 extra dollars for the solar, the price went up.
Your amount was coming out of contingency fund.
Right. Which was wrong.
Right. All right, is there any other discussion on it? If not, all in favor, aye. Opposed, nay. Clerk, please call the roll.
Marie Fenske,
Aye.
Don Miller,
Aye.
Bryce Remy,
Aye.
Forrest Fromme,
Aye.
Dick Marshke,
Aye.
Jim Bansma.
Aye.
All right. If you look at items 26 through 34, if they look familiar, blame the person to my left.
Actually, they were put on here as a test to see how many of you looked at your agenda prior to the meeting.
I
I
passed.
did, but I just didn't read it.
Cody passed, because he called me about 2 of them wondering. So, but there are actually 9 items, so 26 through 34, just.
I was just hoping we were getting another baseball game. All right, the new item 26 is operator licenses. Dick.
Well, that's way down.
Yeah.
I know, right? Look at
Okay.
that. I made it a quicker night.
Yeah. Make a motion to approve a 2-year operator's license, year ending June 30th, 2024 for Sean Sutton.
I'll second.
Any discussion on Mr. Sutton? I saw some kind of diploma in here. Is there like a safe operator?
Oh, I don't know. Oh, I'm sorry. Usually you guys
There
don't
was
get
a-
that. Usually you guys don't get that. It was
I didn't know if
included
that
in here.
was special.
No,
Everyone
whenever
does it?
they apply for a license, they have to show to us that they have either taken a class or held a license in another municipality within the last 2 years. So that's internal paperwork that is required by my office, and you guys usually don't see that.
Copy that. Is there any other discussions on Shawnee Sutton's operator license?
We had discussion at safety about some of the comments for the issues that he's had, but I don't think he's had any issues since May of 22 for the restraining orders and harassment and trespassing. And I don't know that we can consider that, but it was on here, so we wanted to note it at council.
We didn't bother filling out his application because it's asked about residency and he never provided information. So I do look at some, just.
Apparently
But
I
it
don't.
does show that the chief had approved the application.
Mm-hmm, it does.
Is there further discussion? All right, not all in favor, aye. Opposed, nay. Clerk, please call the roll.
Dick Marshke,
Aye.
Jim Bansma,
Aye.
Marie Fenske,
Aye.
Don Miller,
Aye.
Bryce Remy,
Aye.
Forrest Fromme,
Aye.
Motion carries. New 27, act on financial statement for January of this year, of course.
I apologize, there is none available for you this evening, so there's nothing to take action on. Please anticipate that in March, you will have 2 of them on the agenda, one for February and one for March. I apologize for the inconvenience.
Apology accepted.
Thank you.
You're okay.
I got carried away.
Sorry. I had to come to the conclusion this morning, I wasn't gonna get it done.
Item 28 is acting on the bills for January 2023. Does anyone don't have any bills?
I have bills. We're still paying bills. Motion to approve January 2023 payables in the amount of $6,148,687.93.
I'll second.
Any discussion on our bills? If not, all in favor, aye. Opposed, nay. Clerk, please call the roll.
Forrest Fromme,
Aye.
Dick Marshke,
Aye.
Jim Bansma,
Aye.
Marie Fenske,
Aye.
Don Miller,
Aye.
Bryce Remy,
Aye. Can I get a motion to adjourn into closed session for the purpose of considering sale of public property and deliberating terms of this sale per Wisconsin statute 19.851E? So,
well,
Jim Bryce. Any discussion? All right. All in favor, aye. Opposed, no.
that was over.
So why did Don get his packet Tuesday?
Don't worry about it. Jim Bansma,
Aye.
Murray Fenske,
Aye.
Don Miller,
Aye.
Bryce Remy,
Aye.
Forrest Fromme,
Yeah.
Dick Marshke.
Yep.
All right, folks, closed session.
Amy.
I won't be in tomorrow, so I will not.
I'm gonna roll it
To
to
like
March.
September 7th, I think that is,
No longer
that's Tuesday.